Santana, ooh, I wanna have ya. Tanaka, Spivaka, Jag like Michael Walker, Polanco and Franco. Where'd you go to myself?
Get into first place. Check batting ball data and swinging strike rates. Raisins are shriveled grapes. Here's Adam's happy place.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today, presented by Line and Kugels. More on their great variety of beverages later on in the podcast. Friday, September 24th, Frank Stanfield joined as always by Scott White today on the pod. It's the final countdown championship week preview.
Yeah. What are we doing playing Kokomo at the top here? This is no time to relax. Got to be on the edge of your seat.
Well, I would love to play the final countdown, Scott, but copyright issues. I can't.
We could just have the. I can't even remember what the guy says now. Frank, Scott, Chris, and Adam. They're gonna help you win your league. Yeah,
fired
that
up.
Guy. And we could bring that guy in for the final countdown, Frank.
All right, should I redo the intro?
I think so.
No, I can't do that. Kokomo Friday. Got a nice little story about Kokomo Friday in just a second. 2-star pitchers we'll talk about. I've got some would you rather questions for Scotty, streamers for the weekend, and we will answer some of your email questions later on. All right, so Kokomo Friday, the song is actually made by a gentleman named Doc Krotzer. This gentleman is on our Chris and my softball team. And I met him for the first time last week. We played our first game. I actually pitched a complete game, Scott. It was the first time it was the first time
You're a regular Levon Hernandez, Frank.
Well, it's funny story about that. 5 minutes before the game started, I asked everybody, has anyone ever pitched here in softball? Nobody raised their hand, seeing as how I am the captain of this team. It was pretty poor planning by me. So I was like, you know what? I guess I'll just pitch. And I pitched all right, if I must say so myself. The umpire actually gave me a nice little pat on the back. He's like, "Oh, is this your first time pitching? You're doing pretty well." Anyway, Doc Krotzer, I was talking to him. He made the Kokomo Friday theme song, and he goes, "Dude, we have to update it. We have to get you into the Kokomo Friday theme somehow." So, for anyone who's still listening or watching at this point in the season, if you want to make some kind of like alternate lyrics to Kokomo Friday with me included somehow, get fun with it, creative, whatever you want to do. Maybe we move on from Kokomo Friday. We'll always still kind of play Kokomo Friday. What if you have an idea for like another fun song that Doc Krotzer can put together? Let us know. Email us, fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. Enough of the mumbo jumbo, Scotty. Let's jump right in.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
That was a little bit low.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Just in case everyone needed a double take there of our girl, Susan. Oh, my goodness gracious from the past couple days. Who you got, Scotty?
Well, from Wednesday, I got Joe Ryan of the Minnesota Twins, who was making his first start in 8 days, I believe. Remember, he had left his previous start after taking a liner off the wrist. He was great. He was great in his return to the mound at the Cubs. He struck out 11 in 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 2 runs, and has been great in all 4 of his starts now. Between those 4 starts, has allowed a total of 10 hits in 22 innings, while striking out 25, walking only 3. That's a .59 whip, if you're keeping track at home, in those 4 starts. His matchups for the final week of the season, presuming he, takes his final 2 turns, and I don't see why he wouldn't. His matchups are versus Detroit and at Kansas City. Joe Ryan is available in more than half of CBS sports leagues, and those are his 2 matchups for the final week of the season. And you just heard how he's pitched in the 4 starts he's made so far. So he's the number 1 sleeper pitcher for this upcoming week. And if my memory is accurate, this is the first time all season that a sleeper pitcher has somebody who's rostered in few enough leagues for me to call him a sleeper pitcher is in the must-start section of my 2-star pitcher rankings. Joe Ryan is this week.
Yeah. And I guess it kind of makes sense just given, how many people are paying attention to fantasy baseball at this point, but there are people playing for something everywhere. Roto League, if your head-to-head league is still playing it out until the final week of the season, get this guy on your team. Also has fantastic hair, by the way. So big fan of the hair from Joe Ryan. He was fantastic in this start, Scott. I will point out that while he has been great over his first 4 starts, it's been 2 times against Cleveland, 2 times against the Cubs. So obviously those are great matchups. I don't really understand Joe Ryan.
His matchups this week are even better.
Yeah, I mean, he is facing the Tigers and the Royals. I will point out the Royals are 5th in weighted on base average the last 14 days. So they're swinging a hot stick as of now. We'll see what happens over the weekend. I still do like Joe Ryan in those matchups. I just don't really get him. I will point that out. He throws like 91, 92 miles per hour. I watched the highlights of the start. They were talking a lot about like perceived velocity. So I think he does a good job of hiding the ball and probably get some nice extension there, but doesn't throw very hard. The spin rate
72% fastballs too. That's so like,
it's so weird.
That's not literally all he throws, but that's obviously his make or break pitch is that 91 mile per hour fastball.
And I don't really understand why it's so good. It's 35th percentile in spin rate. So it's not like it's not very fast. There's not a lot of spin on it. So
you could understand why he didn't get much hype as a prospect, even though he was, tearing up the minor leagues. It's reminiscent of Christian Javier, I think, except even more extreme.
Yeah. Freddie Peralta is someone you brought up as well.
Yeah.
With him, which I think is a good comp because when Freddie Peralta first came up, he was like 80% fastball. Yeah. Barely.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Javier did have a good breaking ball in the minors, so he wasn't just the fastball. But I mean, in terms of how thoroughly he dominated the minor leagues, and yet it seemed like the prospecting world paid no attention to him.
I do think Joe Ryan's breaking pitch, I believe it's a slider that he throws. I think it's pretty good. I've seen him get some pretty nice whiffs on it, but maybe he's just using this fastball until people kind of figure it out, and then he's going to transition off of it. I think he's still going to use it a lot. But anyway, that was a long way of saying like he confuses me, but I would use him in the final week of the season. So definitely go out and add him where he is available, and go out and potentially add this pitcher as well. Oh my goodness gracious for me, Alex Cobb, making this is a second start off the IL, right, Scott?
Yes.
Okay, so he's up against the Houston Astros, and we kind of wanted to see how this start went. We didn't want to start him against the Astros because they are a tougher matchup, and it works out pretty well here. 5 2/3, 1 run, 4 walks to 3 walks to 4 strikeouts rather, and velocity was up a little bit. They left him out there just a little bit too long, pushing him into the 6th inning. That's when he gave up the run in this start. But overall, I thought he looked very good, and he is up against the Texas Rangers next week. So, and not to the same level of Joe Ryan because Ryan has 2 starts, but I'm excited about Alex Cobb in that spot.
He's my number 2 sleeper pitcher for next week after Joe Ryan. So I'm excited too. And remember, in addition to the Astros being a tough matchup and it being his second turn back from the IL, part of the reason we wanted to sit Cobb for this week is because he only threw 67 pitches in that first start, managed to go beyond 5 because it was really efficient, but we wanted to see him stretch out more before we trusted in him. So, for our purposes, it's kind of a good thing they left him out as long as he did. He threw 93 pitches. So he seems like he's ready to take on a normal workload in that start at the Rangers next week. And 331 xFIP on the year. Good strikeout rate, good ground ball rate. Good swinging strike rate, I should say. And I think well worth using in the last week of the season.
Yeah, he's only 30% rostered, so even more available than Joe Ryan. You need a streamer for the final week. Alex Cobb makes sense. I would like to publicly apologize to Chris Towers for making fun of him earlier in the year when he was touting Alex Cobb, because here we are in the final week of the season touting Alex Cobb. News and notes. The Rays are planning on having Shane Baz start Sunday against the Marlins, according to Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. And I've got this big old smile on my face because I mentioned I started him in Tout Wars and I need all the help that I could possibly get. And starting against the Miami Marlins is definitely help that I can use. So Shane Boswell, awesome in his debut against the Blue Jays. We talked a lot about that. And Scott, I think wherever he's available in daily lineup leagues, you should go out and add him for the start on Sunday.
Yes, you should with a matchup that good. I still doubt he's going to go the minimum required for a quality start, but he was very efficient through 5 in that start against the Blue Jays. And this matchup is on the other end of the spectrum. And as impressive as he was, I can't see him. Obviously it could happen. It's only his second career start, but it's hard to imagine him not carving up that Marlins lineup that looks much like the AAA lineups he was facing before he got called up,
Yeah, for sure.
It may only be in 5 innings, but maybe not. I mean, it's more likely with each passing start that we see him go the distance that a normal starter would go. So, even if you don't play in a daily lineup league and you can't take advantage of that matchup against the Marlins, his matchup next week, instead of being at Houston, is now at the Yankees. It's still not great, but it's better. And, if he does go 6+ against the Marlins, then I think at the Yankees, he'll be really attractive still. He'll be really attractive play. I have him 5th on my sleeper pitchers list for next week. I've already given a third of the list, so I don't even know what we're going to talk about when we do that segment of the podcast.
Oh man, Shane Baz is 39% roster on CBS again for those who play in daily lineup leagues this weekend, or if you play in a weekly one at the Yankees next week. I am so nervous right now, Scott, because the Yankees have 3 series left against the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Blue Jays, and they have a 1-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays at this point in the wild card. I have no idea. What's going to happen, but that's what makes this time of year fun. Well, I guess someone would call it fun. It's more scary for me than anything. From one Shane B to another, Shane Bieber will officially make his return on Friday against the Chicago White Sox and will be limited to around 75 pitches. And you said that you would not start him his first time back.
Yeah, probably not. Probably play it safe. But if he looks fine, if he makes it 75 pitches, then presumably he'll be able to throw even more the next time out. And that next start for Shane Bieber would be at Texas, the final week of the season. So may not want to use him against the White Sox, but at Texas, provided everything looks good on Friday, then you could still get one start out of Shane Bieber this year. Stashed him all that time for one start.
Oh man, good times. Chris Bassett made his triumphant return on Thursday against the Mariners. He went 3 innings. He allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, had 4 strikeouts. Let's take a look at how the velocity and everything was looking here.
Velocity was good. Spin was good.
Okay. 5 swinging strikes on 48 pitches. He's
only like a 10% guy normally anyway. So that wasn't the key to his success before. It's kind of really hard to tell what the key to his success was before, but it had been going on all of this year, all of last year, as short as it was. And I think pretty much everybody considered Chris Bassett a must-start pitcher before he took that liner off the face. And he comes back looking much the same, albeit on just 48 pitches. So I don't know exactly how many pitches he's going to throw next week. I presume he'll be able to throw more than 48, but is he going to be able to give you 6? I kind of doubt that. The matchup is at Seattle, though. So I could see wanting to use Chris Bassett next week.
Yeah.
I can see that.
48 pitches. I don't know how far they're going to want to push him. Like maybe he gets up to 65, 70. Yeah, I guess it just comes down to how efficiently he could pitch. He was very good in this start back, and it's a strong matchup at the Mariners. So I don't know. Points league, he's not going to give you a lot of volume. Roto, maybe if you're just looking for some ratios, I think he can help you there. But I just don't know if he's even going to go 5 to get a win. So it is tough to.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if he pitches well, there's a pretty good chance he goes 5.
All right.
I could see him even going beyond 70 pitches. I can't see him throwing like 90 pitches, but 75, and if he's pitching as efficiently as he usually does, that should get him through 5 innings. So, it mostly comes down to will he pitch well or not. And that's Seattle. After the way he looked here on Thursday, I like his chances of pitching well.
Lourdes Griel left early Thursday after Randall Grichuk accidentally stepped on his hand. X-rays were negative, though he received 2 stitches, and this comes at a bad time as Lourdes Griel was on fire in the month of September. So my guess is he'll miss at least 1 game. It's just a guess, but hopefully he's good to go by lineup locks for next week for anyone who plays in a weekly lineup league. Yordan Alvarez left Wednesday's game due to general soreness. He was out of the lineup Thursday as well, so we'll monitor the situation for Alvarez. Oh, Scotty's shaking his head.
Worried? That general soreness, always pushing people out of the lineup. Who's this guy think he is?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about general soreness? We had Adam Duvall left Thursday's game due to fatigue in his legs. So not exactly general soreness, but not far off either. He is expected to be in Friday's lineup for the Braves. Wade Miley won't make his next start until at least Monday's makeup game against the Pirates after the Reds pushed him back in their pitching schedule while he manages a stiff neck. And if that's the case, he will line up for 2 starts next week, Scotty. One of them we know is going to be against the Pirates, but Wade Miley has pitched.
Both of them are against the Pirates.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep, there were 3 teams that had games rained out. What was it on
Wednesday?
On Wednesday.
Yeah,
and they all got there were 3 games that were rained out on Wednesday. They all got moved to Monday, and it just so happens that for each of those teams, they were lined up to face that same team for the very last series of the season. So there are 3. Or how many pitchers? There are a few pitchers next week who are facing the same team twice, which is weird, but
interesting.
That's just the way it worked out.
So Wade Miley is 63% started on CBS, 2 starts against the Pirates, but he's pitched poorly. Would you?
Right. He's pitched very poorly. And you wonder how much of that has to do with the back, right? It's his back.
Neck soreness.
Neck. Back, neck. They're all connected. You wonder how if maybe he wasn't feeling well during this whole month, or if it was just a lot of regression hitting all at once, because we're talking multiple starts where he's allowed double-digit hits, right? So I have him in the head-to-head only section of my 2-star pitcher rankings, as favorable as those matchups are. I can't really see myself putting my trust in him in a roto league unless I just really don't care about ERA and WHIP and I'm just looking to fill the volume stats as much as I possibly can. But it's not like he's a big strikeout pitcher anyway, so I just don't know that it's worth it in roto league to start Wade Miley.
Wade Miley has made 3 starts against the Pirates this year, and he has a 2.60 ERA in those starts. Mike Moustakas was placed on the IL with right foot plantar fasciitis. Michael Brantley's progress has been slowed as he attempts to return from a knee injury. Anthony Santander has missed the last 2 games due to a hamstring injury. Yusei Kikuchi may not make his next turn through the rotation, which is currently projected to come Tuesday against the A's. If you've held on to Kikuchi to this point, you shouldn't have, because he's pitching very poorly as well.
Yeah,
but you can drop him if you need.
They're saving you from yourself by shutting him down for the season.
Reed Detmers was reinstated from the IL and then optioned to AAA. He's a big-time pitching prospect for the Angels, though he has not pitched well this season in the majors. Alejandro Kirk has started just 2 of the Blue Jays' last 7 games and does not have a hit since September 13th. So he was hot there for a little bit, but Kirk has slowed down, and his playing time has slowed down as a result as well. Pablo Lopez started a rehab assignment Thursday, but it's too late for him to return as a starting pitcher. And Yadiel Hernandez was placed on the paternity list and will miss 1 to 3 days. Normally we do a prospect report. Unless I missed something, Scott, did you have any kind of prospect related article?
No, I mean, minor leagues, other than AAA, the minor league season's over for all the other levels. I think there are some playoff games going on, but players are done accumulating stats everywhere but AAA. So yeah, prospect report is no more.
It's over. But I did want to mention one prospect update. Rangers starting pitcher prospect Cole Winn was promoted to Triple-A. All right, let's do it. Championship week pitcher and hitter planners presented by Line and Kugels. Scheduling for next week, 24 teams have 6 games, and then 6 teams have 7 games next week. That includes Cleveland, the Tigers, the Royals, the Marlins, the Mets, and the Pirates. Let's start with 2-star pitchers, as we always do, Scotty.
Well, it's funny. 6 teams have 7 games, and as you mentioned, there were only 2 games originally scheduled for Monday before all those rainouts happened on Wednesday and upped it to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, really light schedule on Monday. So just keep that in mind. You'll have a chance to continue tinkering with your lineup, except for those teams that happen to be playing on Monday. 2-star pitchers, yes. You pull those up. So as I mentioned, Joe Ryan is the obvious winner here. Only 48% rostered. There's 2 great matchups. I consider him a must start. In addition to being the top sleeper pitcher, Cole Irvin, who I think was originally scheduled for 2 starts this week. I don't know what changed. I guess maybe Bassett rejoining the rotation. But anyway, he's scheduled for 2 starts next week now. 1 at Seattle, 1 at Houston. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call him must start, but he generally pitches deep into games, and one of his 2 matchups is awesome. So I know the second matchup could be better, but generally speaking, 2 is better than 1. Now, here's a really interesting one. We haven't talked about him yet and his performance on Wednesday. Josiah Gray. Josiah Gray on Wednesday had an awesome start. Looked much like the guy we got so excited about when he first joined the Nationals. He was at Miami, so favorable ballpark, favorable lineup. But he allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings, struck out 8 on 20 swinging strikes. It equaled to season high, actually, those 20 swinging strikes. And of the 20 swinging strikes, 12 came on the slider, which he threw 29% of the time. Now, I bring that up because Josiah Gray, during that awful 4-start stretch that preceded this one, when there were a lot of home runs, a lot of walks, he had pretty much faded the slider. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just lost confidence in the pitch or didn't have a feel for it or whatever. But it's clearly a big part of his ability to miss bats, and it was back in full force in the start at Miami on Wednesday. So the thing is, 4 of his last 5 starts have been awful, but the most recent one was dominant. And at his best this year, Josiah Gray has looked, pretty good. I didn't mean to do the Larry David thing there. That just accidentally came out. 2-start week coming up at Colorado versus Boston. Tough matchups, right? I could see using him in a head-to-head points league if you just had to push in your chips and sell out for upside. Just, my only hope is to just throw everything I can at this opponent and hope I get lucky with Josiah Gray. Hope the good version of Josiah Gray with the good slider shows up. I could see how someone might want to do that. It's obviously very risky, so it's not the safe play at all. But I do have Josiah Gray as a sleeper pitcher for next week. And that pretty much does it for the 2-start options. Just those 3, Joe Ryan, Cole Irvin, Josiah Gray, that are available enough to mention here. I'll point out Cal Quantrill has 2 great matchups versus Kansas City versus Kansas City at Texas. But with those matchups, with the way he's pitched recently, I would consider him a must start. I mean, there just aren't that many 2-star pitchers in general this week with all the teams playing 6 games. Man. Oh, and you know what? I should have mentioned this right at the very top. I don't know how much you can trust these 2-start predictions anyway. Who's projected to make 2 starts heading into the final week of the season? Because you know how the final week is, right? Especially for teams whose playoff position is already set. Are they really going to make that second turn? I talked about this last year, and it ended up being kind of a dud. They just, for the most part, pitched as they normally do because the division series don't start until Friday, I don't believe. So they get almost a full week off anyway. Not a full week off, but 4 or 5 days because of those wild card games. The teams that are competing in the wild card games are, other than the loser of the Giants Dodgers, they're obviously going to have to compete till the end of the season anyway. So I imagine they're going to pitch their pitchers like normal, the teams competing in those wild card games that are coming up right after the season ends. And then the ones that aren't competing in the wild card games, they still get some time off. So I don't really know how it's going to play out. That's still kind of a new thing. The wild card games, this is only the third year. No, it's been longer than that, I guess. But the point is, if you're starting a guy, particularly on a team who's for sure going to the playoffs, has its spot pretty much locked in, you shouldn't start him strictly because he's making 2 starts, because there's a very good chance he won't actually make 2 starts. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think your point is well received there. And I would say this to anybody who is considering streaming a 2-start pitcher next week. Not that you should ever do this anyway, but if you're looking to maybe match your opponent, however many starts they have, and you're just starting a 2-start pitcher over someone who might actually be a better pitcher with 1 start, you might want to rethink doing that. And again, normally you shouldn't do that anyway, but yeah, just keep that in mind. I mean, the schedule could
especially this week. I don't know that I can. I'm scanning the list here. I don't know that there's going to be, just because of the way the pitchers line up this week and where their teams are in the standings. I don't know that there's really anybody you may be on the fence about who would be impacted by that. So Walker Buehler's in line for 2 starts. Logan Webb's in line for 2 starts. You're probably starting them even if they only make 1, right?
Yeah.
It's not really guys you're having second thoughts about. I see somebody like Steven Matz making 2 starts versus the Yankees versus Baltimore. He just had a bad start on Thursday, but he had been pitching well before that. We weren't really buying it, but still 2 starts, 1's against Baltimore. And the Blue Jays are a good team that could theoretically find themselves in a position where they want to rest guys at the end of the year for the playoffs, but it's a pretty tight race, so probably not. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I don't know, maybe like Jose Urquidy versus Tampa Bay versus Oakland. That's what he's in line for. Does he make just 1 start? Well, what is he, their 4th starter? So I don't know. I don't know that they're going to be really looking to save him. I mean, part of the issue too is now, this is really for the first time this year, roster's only expanded by 2 in September. So it's not like teams have 16 pitchers they're working with,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's probably not something you have to worry about that much, I guess. So even though I just spent the last 7 minutes talking about it or whatever.
All right, so let's look at some single start streamers, guys that we know are going to pitch, and we think we know what their matchup is going to be. Obviously, we already spoke about Alex Cobb, someone we like for next week. Who are a few of those other names you're looking at?
So let's see. Logan Gilbert against the Athletics, just because of how well he's pitched. It's not a particularly good matchup, but he's been among pitchers who are available. He's somebody I like his chances. Shane Baz at New York. We talked about him. Tyler Mcgill against the Marlins. It's a really good matchup. He's been hit or miss. His good starts have generally been really good, but he's been knocked around a few times too. But against the Marlins, I like his chances. Antonio Senzatella at Arizona. He just had a long quality start streak snapped last time, but elite walk rate, elite ground ball rate. You can understand why he's had success, even though he's not a big bat misser. Brady Singer and Carlos Hernandez both are in line to face the Indians this week. So, they're not bad if you need to fill a hole. Tyler Anderson against the Angels. He's not bad either. I'm not saying any of these guys beyond beyond Alex Cobb and Logan Gilbert and Shane Baz, any of them are particularly exciting. But, if you have a need to fill, if you have a lineup spot to fill, guys like Mcgill, Singer, Carlos Hernandez, the matchups are right for them this week.
I will throw a few names out there myself. I know that did you mention Michael Pineda, Scott? I know that you had him on your pitchers to stash list.
Yeah, I didn't. He's going against the Tigers.
Yeah.
But he didn't quite make the cut for me here.
Yep. All right, that's fair. It looks like maybe you have something different, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Rich Hill is facing the Marlins. So he's kind of been like Mcgill recently, hit or miss, but he's had some good starts mixed in there, and looks like he's projecting at home against the Marlins. And then I will throw Adrian Hauser out there at the Cardinals, more of a deeper league play. He's 41% rostered. He's allowed just 5 earned runs over his last 4 starts. So he's been pitching pretty well, turned in a quality start in his most recent one against the Cardinals as well. Do you have Rich Hill against the Marlins?
Yeah, he's scheduled to go against the Marlins.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll throw him and Adrian Hauser out there as a few deeper league plays if you're looking for some matchups at this point. Some sleeper hitters, Scott, that you're looking at rostered in less than 80% of CBS leagues.
Well, the Cubs have the 3rd best matchups this week, IMHO. And
you know what that means.
The Cubs have a lot of interesting hitters. Oh, yeah. Frankie 2 hits.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2 is number 1 in my sleepers hitters on my sleepers hitters list, as he is most every week. The Cubs matchups aren't just awful because he keeps getting 2 hits every game with good power as well. So I don't know why he's still available in a third of CBS sports leagues. I know more leagues than that have somebody who's paying attention. He deserves to be rostered by everybody in every league, no matter the size. You could use him. You could use Frank Schwindel in the season's final week, but not just him. I mean, Ian Happ has, I think he homered again on Thursday. He's been pretty hot lately. Rafael Ortega, not as much, but he tends to perform particularly well against right-handers, and 5 of the 6 pitchers the Cubs are scheduled to face are against righties. Patrick Wisdom could also be interesting for that reason. Number 2 on my sleepers hitters list is actually Brendan Rodgers, another guy we talk about a lot here. He has heated up in September, already 5 home runs, batting well over 300 for the month. And the Rockies are at Coors Field for their first series and then at Arizona for the second series. There are no pitchers to be found in Arizona. So I imagine Rodgers is going to stay hot. Enrique Hernandez, who's always been a lefty masher, the Red Sox, not only do they have the 4th best matchups this week, but 4 of the pitchers they're scheduled to face are left-handers. So I like Enrique Hernandez a lot. Lane Thomas, your guy, Frank.
Yeah.
Lane Thomas having a big month. Getting on base a lot, batting leadoff for the Nationals. And they have a series at Colorado this week, so that should help his cause as well. 2 middle infielders who just continue to produce, regardless of the matchups, it seems like Nicky Lopez and Kyle Farmer. I like both of them this week. And we're going to leave it at that. And you're going to have to check the site for a few more names that I have here for you.
Lane Thomas and those Washington Nationals, they're hitting well right now. They are 8th in WOBA over the last 14 days. So they're a pesky bunch. Juan Soto has got it going. He's hit 3 home runs over the last 2 games. And of course, Lane Thomas leading off there with a few matchups in Coors Field. Definitely on board with you there, Scotty. Brendan Rodgers, I did want to point out, hit another home run on Wednesday, 15th home run. He's having a real big September. 305 batting average, 5 homers, and 866 OPS. We talk about Brendan Rodgers a lot. Rightfully so. He is hot right now and does have one more series next week in Coors Field. So there you have it. The championship week pitcher and hitter planners presented by Line and Kugels. And it is a stressful weekend in baseball. Lots of close races in the wild card, the National League East, the National League West. I'm going to sit back, watch my Yanks take on the Red Sox with an ice cold Line and Kugel Summer Shandy in hand. Smooth blend of beer and refreshing lemonade that hits just right when enjoying a baseball game. And the Summer Shandy isn't all they offer. They also have a Session Helles, which has all the flavor of a crisp German-style beer, but it's only 99 calories And let's not forget about their Lemon Haze IPA, a well-balanced hazy IPA that blends hops with delicious lemonade. So no matter what type of beverage you're craving, Line & Kugels has you covered. Just head on over to Liney.com. That's LEINIE.com, or follow Line & Kugels on Instagram or Facebook for more information about all of the delicious beers that they brew. Let's take a quick break. When we return, a few would you rather waiver wire questions for the final week of the season here on Fantasy Baseball Today. All right, would you rather number 1, Keibert Ruiz or Mitch Garver? The other day, I jumped the gun. I said, Mitch Garver, we don't have to worry about this guy. And then he goes out and has a pretty big game on Thursday. Goes 3 for 4 with a double, an RBI, a run scored. He's 51% rostered. 6 games next week against Tigers and Royals pitching. That sounds pretty good to me. And then Keibert Ruiz, we mentioned the other day, does have that series in Coors Field. So who would you go with in the final week, Scott? Ruiz or Garver?
That's a tough call. I'm not thrilled about starting either. Trying to see how regularly Keibert Ruiz starts, and he sits every third game or so himself. Garver's had 2 multi-hit games since returning, 2 3-hit games since returning, but then he sat out the day in between, and that's kind of been an issue for him whenever he's been healthy this year. Still hasn't played that much. But I think since Ruiz isn't starting all that regularly himself, I'll say Garver.
All right, Mitch Garver over Ruiz for the final week of the season. How about if you need an outfielder? All of these are rostered between 40 and 55% of CBS leagues. Brandon Nimmo in 8 September games. He's batting .303. He's got 1 homer, 1 steal. The Mets have 7 games next week. Austin Hayes went 2 for 4 on Thursday with his 22nd home run. He's 51% rostered. 6 games next week. It looks like 2 lefties are on the schedule. I know that Hayes mashes lefties. I will point out that they are Chris Sale and Robbie Ray, so pretty tough lefties at that.
It's amazing, though. Hayes has 9 home runs in September. Of his 22 home runs, 9 have come in September.
Yeah, he's crushing it. He's having a real big month, as is Gavin Lux, who went 2 for 4 with a stolen base on Thursday. 11 games since returning. He's batting .444, 2 doubles, 1 triple, 1 homer, 1 steal, 40% rostered, 6 home games for the Dodgers next week, and it looks like 1 lefty is on the schedule as of now. Nimmo, Hayes, Lux. How would you rank them, Scotty?
Well, none of them are among my sleeper hitters for next week, even though they all qualify in terms of roster rates. So I'll point that out first thing.
So basically Lane Thomas over all of them if he's available.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. As hot as Hayes is, I don't love the Orioles matchups, and there's not enough lefties, as you pointed out. I'll rank them. Let's see here. Well, the Mets do have 7 games. So I think I'm going to go Nimmo number 1, followed by Hayes, I guess, followed by Gavin Lux, because I'm a little curious how the playing time is going to shake out for Lux with AJ Pollock back. Pollock was in the lineup with a lefty on the mound Thursday, hit 2 doubles. Now, Lux was also in the lineup against a lefty, actually started in center field, and got 2 hits himself, but they have other directions they could go. So I'll put Lux third on this list. Nimmo, Hayes, then Lux.
All right, last would you rather here, Kyle Freeland or Miles Michaelis? These are deeper leagues, I realize that. Michaelis is 25% rostered. He's allowed just 2 earned runs over his last 2 starts. Was pretty good his last time out here at the Brewers. And next week, he also versus the Brewers again. And then Kyle Freeland.
He's got 2 starts, Michaelis does.
Oh, does he really? Well,
Yep.
He wasn't one of your sleeper pitchers, right?
No, he wasn't. I have him in the no thanks category of the 2-start sleeper pitcher rankings, but he's at the very top of the no thanks category. So if you're really, really pushing to get an extra start in there, his matchups are against the Brewers and against the Cubs. So they're not bad matchups. Okay. He's only 25% rostered. He went 7, right, on Wednesday?
Yeah, 7 innings, 2 runs.
But yeah, I think that was his 1 good start since returning from the IL. So not ready to put my trust in him. But if you're selling out for volume, I could see how you might want to.
Would you rather have him or Kyle Freeland, who is at home against the Nationals next week?
I would rather have Michaelis.
All right. Kyle Freeland did turn in a quality start against the Dodgers on Thursday, and I was watching that start. It was real rough to start off, and then he just settled down in the final 3 innings of this one and managed to get to the quality start there for Kyle Freeland. Starter sit these pitchers for next week. This one seems pretty obvious, but Chris Sale, it looks like he has 2 starts at the Orioles and at the Nationals, but he's only 64% started. So throwing Chris Sale back in there final week?
Yeah.
All right. And then we have Luis Garcia, his most recent start at the Angels. He went 6 shutout. He only had 1 strikeout. Like Sale, he's only 68% rostered, and looks like he has 2 starts at home against the Rays and the Oakland A's.
Feels like he's been a little off lately, but you look at his game log and it's not that bad, really. I would say I only have him down for 1 start. I have Urquidy going twice for the Astros. So who would he be facing? If he does just make the 1 start, it would only be...
That would be against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so pretty tough matchup for Garcia. I wouldn't say he's must sit, but I'm not terribly excited about starting him. Certainly I'd start like Joe Ryan over him. I'd start I don't know that I'd start Alex Cobb over him. There might only be 1 sleeper pitcher that I'd start over Luis Garcia.
That's pretty close. Luis Garcia versus Tampa or Alex Cobb at the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would go with Cobb, but that's pretty damn close. Next one up here, we have Corey Kluber, who could not survive the 5th inning against the Texas Rangers on Wednesday. 4 1/3, 8 hits, 3 runs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but CBS has him for 2 starts at Toronto and versus Tampa Bay next week. Everything on the line. I mean, these are massive matchups. And they're top too, so he's only 41% started right now.
Yeah, I have him in the no thanks section of the 2-star pitcher rankings as well, below Miles Michaelis. So only 1 good start since returning from the IL. I don't really see why you could use him, how you could use him, especially with these matchups.
Yep. Oh gosh, man. I just realized that our season is in the hands of Corey Kluber. This is it's not
our
a good
season,
feeling.
meaning Yankees.
Yeah, obviously, because I'm like majority shareholder of the New York Yankees. You know me, Big Bucks Frank. Ian Anderson at the Diamondbacks in his most recent start. This was on Wednesday. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. He was phenomenal. 15 swinging strikes on 97 pitches, and he is 56% started. And I think he has 2 starts at home against the Phillies and Mets.
So I was torn whether to call him a must-start to-start pitcher or put him the next category down in sleepers and questionables. I went with must-start. So, yeah, with the 2 starts coming up, 2 of his last 3 starts have been great. I think with him going twice this week, you got to use him.
All right, get Ian Anderson back out there. Only 56% started, so get him in your lineups. Chris Flexon at the Oakland A's in his most recent start. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. He is only 55% started, and it looks like he might have 2 starts at home against the A's and Angels next week. Is that correct for Chris Flexon?
Yes, it is. I have him in sleepers and questionables, but I would lean yes. It's you think twice in a 5x5 league, a roto league, where ERA and WHIP are higher priority for you than wins and strikeouts. Not that he's a big strikeout guy anyway. You just kind of have to assess your situation in those leagues. What categories do I really need the most help in? Does it make sense to risk it with 2 starts here? But that's kind of true for every pitcher, except the most high-end ones anyway in those leagues. Does it make sense for me to just start 6 relievers this week or something like that? But I would say in most circumstances, and certainly in all points leagues, you're probably starting Flexon.
Well, how about Aaron Cevalle? Would you be starting him in all points leagues? Because got a funny story for you here, Scotty.
Okay.
I'm in the final week I'm in the finals of Tout Wars. There's obviously 1 week left. It's a 2-week matchup. I'm going up against Ariel Cohen, who is the defending champion. and I had a 60-point lead going into Thursday. I had Aaron Cevalle start. My lead is now down to 30 points. He gave me negative 14.5 fantasy points, basically canceling out everything that Charlie Morton did. Morton gave me 15 points. So I got a half a point between those two. And it was like this whole convoluted situation because in Tout Wars, you set your lineup for Monday and Friday. You could change your lineup again. So everywhere that I looked on Monday had Max Scherzer pitching Friday this week. So I left Max Scherzer on my bench, and then it turns out that he's pitching Thursday. So I see Aaron Tavale give me this huge negative spot early in the day, and then I have Max Scherzer out there, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy's on my bench. He's about to go off. It turns out Max Scherzer is a human. He came back down to life. He obviously was in Coors Field, so it's a tough matchup. But, man, that could have worked out so poorly for me. If Max Scherzer, that was a long story and a long way of asking, Scott. Cevalle is 45% started on CBS. He's had 2 good starts. He's had 2 bad starts. He's at Kansas City next week. And I mentioned they are hitting better as of late. What do we do with Aaron Cevalle?
I mean, they weren't just bad. He gave up 7 earned runs in an inning and 2/3.
He gave up 4 home runs. 4
home runs. And in that other bad start, he gave up 3. So it's been pretty vulnerable to the long ball, and I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. He could, maybe he throws 7 shutout innings at Kansas City next week. I think that's within his capabilities, but I'm a little scared of another one of these disaster starts now that he's had 2 of the last 3 like that.
All right, let me see what I can do here, because I mean, it is slim pickings right now in Tout Wars. This is a 12-team league. Yes, I'm making this all about me. I know this probably doesn't help anybody, but I'm trying to pull up and see if there's any pitchers who might be like 2-star pitchers that might be available next week that I can drop them for. Oh man, this list is bad. I'm looking at the last 14 days. Willie Peralta, Josh Rodgers. I mean, I can't do that, right, Scott? Jake Woodford?
No.
Oh, gosh. Matt Manning?
But you're looking for a 2-star pitcher specifically?
Oh, Drew Rasmussen. How about that? Can I do that?
He is a 2-star pitcher. He's at Houston and at the Yankees. And isn't going to go 6 innings, guaranteed.
But I think
do you have to? I mean, you had Scherzer on, but you can switch your lineup midweek. So
yes, I'll switch the lineup again Friday for whoever.
Nobody you've named is somebody I would sit Aaron Cevalle for.
Not even Rasmussen.
No.
Oh man, this is so bad. Oh, Jordan Lyles.
I would just take the chances on the good Cevalle showing up. I mean, it helps that you're in a points league. It'd be even scarier in a categories league.
Who does Tony Gonsolin face next week? Can I use him? Can I pick him up and use him?
I believe he is against the Padres.
Oh, I mean, not that they've been great or anything, but
yeah.
All right, enough of my team. No one cares about this. Maybe it was helpful, if you play in a deeper league and you're trying to figure out if you should drop Aaron Cevalle.
Well, it contextualizes my Cevalle recommendation a little bit.
Yeah, we're not. Both of us, Scott, collectively are not excited about starting Aaron Cevalle, but yeah, there's not a lot out there. I would drop him for Joe Ryan if he were available. Obviously.
Absolutely.
Zach Plesac in his most recent start against the White Sox, 5 1/3, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts. He is 59% started, also at the Royals next week.
No.
Nope. All right, Yu Darvish, last one here. He gave up 4 runs over 5 1/3 against the Giants on Wednesday. He had 7 strikeouts. He's 73% started. His final start is at the Dodgers next week.
With that matchup, it kind of makes it easy, right? And he had that 7-inning gem. I think it was against the Cardinals last weekend, right?
Yes.
But then he comes right back with another. It wasn't a disastrous start against the Giants, but it wasn't good. And then he has just as tough a matchup, if not tougher, next week. So, if you're selling out for upside and just, you kind of have to, what's the word I'm looking for? we'll say thread the needle, though there's a better expression than that, in the final week, and just kind of have to give your team a higher ceiling, the highest possible ceiling it can to win, then it makes sense to start somebody like Darvish, because you know what good Darvish can do for you. But if you're just setting your lineup normally and just, trying to avoid the disaster that he could bring, probably set him.
All right, I lied. There is one more that I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
I think I know your answer, but Aaron Nola made a start on Thursday against the Pirates. He gave up 6 runs over 6 innings pitched. He did have 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. He allowed 2 more home runs. That brings him to 26 home runs allowed this season. That is 1 shy of his career high. He now has a 4.64 ERA. That comes with a 3.31 xFIP. I think that Nola is going to be a very polarizing player to figure out in the offseason. I tweeted about him. I had a bunch of different responses. Some people were, I had him this year, I'll never draft him again. Other people were, I'll buy the dip if you're getting him at a value next year. So I think it's going to be all over the place. But all we care about right now, Scott, is at the Braves next week. Would you start Aaron Nola there?
What does going down with the ship mean to you, Frank?
It means I wish that he was starting against the Marlins, because that's the other team the Phillies are facing next week.
Well, yes. I've been saying all along I'll go down with the ship with Nola. And I'm going to stick with that. I mean, look,
he's broken. There's something
come
wrong.
on.
There's
What do
something
you mean
wrong
by
with
broken? He's slightly off. That's not the same as broken.
No, I mean, look, semantics here, but being slightly off means you can be broken. It doesn't mean that it's unfit.
He made a positive contribution in fantasy today. He had a 117 whip. He struck out 8. He got a win. He scored 16 points in standard CBS leagues. He made a positive contribution in 3 of the 4 roto categories he can make a contribution in. The only one he made a negative contribution in was the ERA. So,
what was the ERA, Scott? You didn't mention that.
It was, it was high.
It was 9.
Yeah, but still, I mean, overall, you benefited from using Aaron Nola in what was, clearly not his best effort. But 4 of the 6 runs he gave up were on home runs, and this has been his problem all year. Everything looks awesome except the home runs.
And now,
I think he's still a good pitcher.
All the Braves do is hit home runs, Scott.
I know. Well, they strike out a lot too. I think Nola could throw a gem against them, and it's the sort of thing I could live with. I think Aaron Nola is still a good pitcher. I think basically every number but ERA shows that. And if starting Aaron Nola is the reason I lose, I'll be able to sleep after that, If sitting Aaron Nola is the reason I lose, that's going to hurt for a long time. That's just where I'm at with it. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Aaron Nola. I mean, you bring up next year, and the thing is, I understand just the, Joe fantasy player on Twitter. There's a lot of emotion behind everything, and he feels like he got burned, and so he's just, I'm never going to do it again. I mean, you never hear a fantasy analyst say, I'm never going to draft player X again because he burned me this year. That's just not a rational way to go about things. But I actually looked it up before the show. Prior to today's start, which again only elevated his fantasy stock, Aaron Nola is the number 33 starting pitcher this year in both points leagues and roto. I mean, you obviously drafted him to be much better than 33, but 33 is still must start, more or less, And I know volume has something to do with that. But if you're talking about drafting Aaron Nola for next year, the fact that he provides so much volume year after year obviously has to go into your thinking, especially when you look around the league right now and, half the pitchers we've been counting all season are suddenly unavailable. There's a lot to be said for being available. And I think it was the worst case outcome for Nola anyway. So I think we're going to see a big bounce back season from him. And as it is, he's still been a top 30-ish pitcher this year in both formats. So I think I think the dissatisfaction is a little overblown. I think virtually everybody's going to rank him as a top 20 starting pitcher next year. And, there's a lot of big talk right now about, I'd never do that. But, when push comes to shove and everybody's lists are going to kind of come together and the consensus is going to be he's a top 20 pitcher still.
Do you have Aaron Nola on any team, Scott?
I do. Yeah, I have him on several.
All right. Because I was going to say, if you don't, then it's easier for you to say from like the outside looking in. But okay, if you have him on your teams, I will point out he was drafted as the 8th starting pitcher off the board coming into the season. To be SP 33.
No, I'm not saying he's lived up to his draft position.
No. I know that's not what you're saying, but I think that you're kind of underselling how bad he's been. SP 33 as the 8th starting pitcher off the board. That's a pretty, in my opinion, that's a pretty massive disappointment.
I'm just saying I think a lot of people are overselling how bad he's been because he's been, just in a general pitcher sense, good.
All right. Agree to disagree. Leftovers from Wednesday, a few things I want to hit on. I mentioned Juan Soto. He is hot. 6 hits, 3 homers over his last 2 games. Not really much to see there. Juan Soto is awesome. He will be a first-round pick next year. Zach Wheeler is having a big September finish. 4 starts. He's allowed just 3 earned runs, 32 strikeouts over 23 2/3 innings. He is at the Braves next week, a team that he has dominated this year, 1.35 ERA over 4 starts against them. Kyle Schwarber had a double dong on Wednesday. He is up to 31 homers. Max Kepler, a double dong. He's up to 19. Really disappointing year for Max Kepler. Not a disappointing year for Paul Goldschmidt, someone we have not given enough credit to this year. Actually, this was on Thursday. He did this. Thursday, Tuesday, whatever.
Well, it's the sort of thing, like, obviously he's rostered everywhere and has been from the start. So how much is it worth talking about? But yeah, over the last 3 months, he's hit over, I don't have the exact numbers, but since the start of July, I know he's hit well over 300. Like, it's looked like retro Goldschmidt basically. And I have him like 4th in my first base rankings right now. So he's quietly gained a lot of ground for me.
Yep. Paul Goldschmidt. What I was looking for was a double dong on Thursday. He has 3 homers over his last 2 games. He's batting .291, 29 home runs, 12 steals. The 12 steals just really comes out of nowhere. So awesome bounce back season from Paul Goldschmidt. Much like Max Scherzer, Walker Buehler is human. He was at Coors Field on Wednesday, and he allowed 5 earned runs over 3 2/3. It was just the 3rd time this year that he did not complete 6 innings. That is out of 31 starts. So awesome.
Coors Field's been looking Coorsier lately.
Oh yeah.
I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Might really want to third guess that Josiah Gray decision there.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. I was like, man, Josiah Gray in Coors Field and against Boston. That is
because we've already second guessed it. Now we're gonna third guess it.
Yeah, just don't do it. That's my advice, even in a points league. How about this? Would you start Josiah Gray or Aaron Cevalle next week?
I would start unless I was specifically chasing strikeouts. I would start Cevalle.
All right. Also on Wednesday, Kyle Seager went 3 for 5 with his 35th home run. I mean, Duvall having an awesome year. Kyle Seager, another one, just flying under the radar. I know the batting average is awful, but 35 homers. Austin Riley has homered in 3 straight. He's now up to 32 home runs. Buster Posey went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles on Wednesday. He's batting .306 with a .902 OPS, much like Paul Goldschmidt. Awesome bounce back year for Buster Posey. Fernando Tatis hit his 40th home run on Wednesday. He's batting .285, 40 homers, 25 steals, even with all the time that he missed this year. Thursday, a few leftovers. Tim Anderson, double dong, 16 homers, 17 steals this year, .306 batting average. He's missed some time. I was all over Tim Anderson this year. I think overall it was disappointing, at least with what I was expecting for him. Luis Robert went 2 for 3 with his 9th homer, and he is having just an awesome year. I know it's a smaller sample, but strikeout rate is at 20%. His line drive rate is 29%, 91st percentile in max exit velocity for Luis Robert. Somebody I think I'm going to be very, very excited to draft next year in that White Sox lineup. Adam Wainwright, also human. Who would have thought? 4 innings, 5 runs against the Brewers. That raises his ERA to 3.05. Awesome. Mitch Haniger hit his 35th home run. Matt Olson hit his 38th home run. He's got a 258 batting average in the second half, which is more along the lines of what we expected from Matt Olson coming into this year. So if you're just projecting for next season, 260, 265-ish hitter, I still think that is a fair projection for Matt Olson. Logan Webb, also human, at the Padres. He gave up 4 earned runs over 4 innings pitched. His final start is at home next week. You mentioned he might have 2 starts, right, Scott? Logan Webb?
I have Logan Webb as a 2-start pitcher, yes, though it's not clear when Scott Kazmir is going again. He's Gabe Kepler said he'll probably get another turn. It depends where they insert Kazmir, but whether it's 2 starts or 1, I think you should stick with Webb.
Yeah, because if it is 1 start, it's at home against the Diamondbacks, and obviously that is awesome. Ryan Mountcastle hit his 31st home run of the year, and Teoscar Hernandez hit his 30th. Great season for both of those guys as well. The call to the pen, some bullpen updates. On Wednesday, we had Alex Colomé pick up his 15th save for the Twins. He did give up 2 earned runs. We had Giovanni Gallegos get his 12th save of the season on Thursday, and I have a feeling he's probably still available in way too many leagues. For the Rockies, Carlos Estevez gave up 3 hits and a run. He took his 6th blown save of the season. The poor Rockies. Like, I want the Rockies to be good. I don't know why. It's like a random feeling that I have, but like they just cannot get pitching. I understand like it's such a unique place to pitch, but they just cannot put anything together. They don't trade away Trevor Story. They just do so many questionable things. The Rockies. I don't
know that. Do you know they entered today 5 games back of the Padres?
Sheesh. I mean, that is more of a reflection of the Padres than I think it is of the Rockies. For the Mariners on Thursday, Paul Sewald got his 10th save of the season. Drew Steckenrider picked up saves on both Tuesday and Wednesday. So the last 4 saves have gone to Sewald, Steckenrider, Sewald. The Mariners. For the Diamondbacks on Thursday, JB Wendelken picked up his 2nd save. Tyler Clippard pitched in a non-save situation on Wednesday and gave up 3 earned runs. And then for the Orioles on Thursday, Cole Sulser recorded 5 outs across the 7th and 8th. Tyler Wells picked up his 4th save of the season. Anything you'd like to add on these bullpens? You just mentioned.
Not really. No, right. I mean, if you're trying to corner a new closer now with what 10 days to go in the season, I mean, good luck to you.
Hey man, Roto leagues, every save can matter this time of year, Sky. You move up 1 spot in the standings, it can change things. So it's always a wacky final week of the season with those Roto standings kind of just still jumping all over the place. So might be desperate for save somewhere. Friday, to stream or not to stream, we have Tony Gonsolin at the Diamondbacks, Tyler McGill at the Brewers, Eric Lauer versus the Mets, Paulo Espino at the Reds, Carlos Hernandez at the Tigers, and J-Hap at the Cubs.
Well, I would say that my favorites here are... there's a few pretty good ones here. Eric Lauer against the Mets.
Yes.
Tony Gonsolin at Arizona.
Yes.
Tyler McGill at the Brewers. Carlos Hernandez at the Tigers. I'm fine with all 4 of those. Probably in that order.
All right. I might put Carlos Hernandez ahead of Tyler McGill just because, I don't know. McGill, like when McGill's bad, he's really bad. So it's kind of scary. Saturday, streamers. John Lester at the Cubs. Tyler Anderson at the Angels. Eric Fetty at the Reds. Rich Hill at the Brewers. Nestor Cortez at the Red Sox. And Jordan Lyles at the Orioles.
Let's go with... I'm still probably going to lean toward Nestor Cortez at Boston here, even though it's not a great matchup in his last start. Kind of took a step back. I just think he's the best pitcher here. But I don't mind Tyler Anderson at the Angels and Rich Hill at the Brewers.
Mr. Anderson. They're making a new Matrix movie, Scott. What do you think? Did you see the trailer?
I have not seen the trailer.
I have not seen the 3rd movie yet.
Well, it's one of those that, like, it's just the Matrix.
Yeah.
It kind of like Jurassic Park. It's just Jurassic Park. They may have made more under that title, but we know there was really just the one.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it. I think it was last year I watched The Matrix for the first time, and I came back with Not really a review, but my review of it. I thought it was very good. It didn't age as poorly as I thought it would. And then I watched the second Matrix movie, and it was bad. It was really bad. It was so bad that I didn't want to watch the third one. So I'm going to have to pull myself together here, watch the third movie, because I would like to watch the fourth one. So eventually I'll make it happen. Sunday, streamers, Antonio Senzatella versus the Giants. Jake Woodford at the Cubs, Josh Rodgers at the Reds, Shane Baz, auto start, versus the Marlins, Willie Peralta versus the Royals, and Chris Bubich at the Tigers.
Yeah. I don't really want to recommend any of these others other than Baz. I guess Antonio Senzatella would be my second choice, but going against the Giants, don't feel great about that.
All right, let's wrap up with a few emails here from Nick in Chicago. Who are some guys that I can target that will get me some innings pitched following an opener? I'm trying to get as many extra innings pitched as possible without going over the 20 start limit in a 2-week long head-to-head categories championship where innings pitched is a category. Well, I meant to research this before because this is a little bit tougher to do on the spot. Let me
Ross Stripling, maybe.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of clear opener situations around the league right now. Yeah, I can't give you a lot of suggestions.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is tougher for sure. I will try to pull up some reliever stats for the month of September and see who has the most innings pitched to this point, and see if there's anyone that catches our eye here. So let's see, who do we got? Who do we have? Adbert Alzolay, he's someone I know has been pitching multiple innings at a time. I
don't think they've been good innings, but yeah.
No, he has a 1.98 ERA.
Oh,
10.5 K per 9, 0 walks allowed. So
okay, I'm totally dead wrong on that then. Sorry.
He's pitching pretty well. We have Aaron Ashby has 12 1/3 innings pitched for the Brewers, a 1.46 ERA. Who else? Someone that stands out. Brian Shaw with Cleveland. Nope, he has a 5 ERA. That's not good. Jose Urania. No, that guy stinks. Garrett Richards has thrown 11 2/3. These aren't really followers. They're not bulk relievers, but
they're just multi-inning relievers.
Yeah, they're multi-inning relievers.
He's looking for. Yeah.
Garrett Richards has a 1.54 ERA in September, so he has pitched well. Cody Hoyer with the Cubs, 2.31. Alex Reyes might be available. I think that's a good one. 2.31 ERA, still getting a lot of strikeouts. The walks are a little bit high for him. Dietrich Enns is someone who was kind of a bulk reliever for Tampa Bay. He got their most recent save, but
that's the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, Dietrich Enns.
No, Rowan Wick has an ERA over 5. Yeah, that's probably it. I think that should suffice. That's a good amount of names for you. From Kevin, thank you guys for getting me back-to-back finals appearances in my league. You're welcome. My offense has been dominant all year, but my pitching staff is falling apart in the second half. Join the club. I've been taking advantage of the fact that waivers run twice a week in our league, Thursday and Sunday nights, to stream together a decent staff. I'm looking for some streaming help to get me a championship. Can you rank the following options for the weekend separately from the options for the first half of next week? All right, so for Friday through Sunday, we just talked about a lot of these guys, but it sounds like Lauer, Rich Hill, Casey Mize, Gonsolin, Singer. I think Singer, does he start this weekend? I think he does. I know Lauer and Gonsolin were two names that you liked, right, Scott?
Yeah, I think those would be my top 2. I don't believe Singer is going this weekend, actually.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I might consider him.
Okay. And then for Monday through Thursday next week, Kyle Hendricks at the Pirates. No, we can't do it. Alex Wood versus the Diamondbacks. Chris Flexon versus Oakland. Yusei Kikuchi. No. Adrian Hauser at St. Louis. Maybe 1 or 2.
Flexon. And
I think Hauser.
Probably. That's a less inspiring group, actually.
Yep. All right. Well, we will wrap there. That is our preview for the final week of the season. For Scott, I'm Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again on Monday. Bye-bye.